Hello everyone. Welcome to your easy guide to English section for CLAT examination series. And we are discussing previous year question papers. And this is the second part of previous year question paper discussion, year 2024. So that means that we have already discussed two reading comprehensions, and in this second part we are going to do rest of the two reading comprehensions. So if you have not watched the previous video, I would really request you that you watch the previous video that has the first two reading comprehensions and then you start with this one. Okay, so let's start with the third reading comprehension. So as we have been doing for the previous two papers, that is for 2025 and 2024, we will first quickly glance through the questions so that we know what are the focus areas, what are the areas we have to pay attention to, where we will find our answers in the reading comprehension, and then we'll read the comprehension. Okay, so let's quickly glance through the questions. What is the protagonist's preference for barrenness and starkness as Carrignano suggests about her personality? So the moment we come across these words in the passage, we will try to see if we can find the answer to this question. So remember, barrenness and starkness at Carrignano. What do you get to know about the protagonist's state of mind from her reaction towards the postman? So the moment the postman has been mentioned and her protagonist's reaction has been shown, we will definitely find our answer in that part. What does the protagonist's desire to be mistaken for a pine tree reveal about her mindset? So the moment we see something about pine tree and something about protagonist and the pine tree has been mentioned, we will again sharpen our focus at that point because our answer would be there. This question was given in the question paper, but eventually it was withdrawn because I think this is from some part of the some other part and not from this passage. So we will also skip this one. Which of the following statements are true about the protagonist's overall state of mind at Carrignano? Statement 1: she experienced a sense of constant restlessness and anguish. She felt isolated and disconnected from her environment. And statement 3: she was content, fulfilled, and at peace with her surroundings. Now, there's another trick for the question this long, and especially from the before you get to the reading this question, that will require some good amount of time, that is like a couple of seconds more than any two-liner question. You can skip it in the first reading. I say so because most of these questions are such that you will be able to answer them only after you have read the whole passage. And anyway, if you read at the starting itself, it will be very difficult to retain this whole question in your mind while you're reading the question. So, in the first cursory reading, you can skip this kind of question, statement 1, 2, and 3, because you wouldn't remember this long question and they are most likely answerable only after you've read the whole passage. So once you've read the moment you see that this long question is also there, just skip it. Get to the next question. We will do this after we have read the passage. In the light of above passage, what role does the nature play in the protagonist's life at Carrignano? Okay, so these were all the questions. Now let's start with the passage and try to answer the question. Everything she wanted was here at Carrignano in Kasoli, here on the ridge of the mountain in this quiet house. So we see that this person that is being talked about, so it's a woman, of course. So everything she wanted, that means that this woman has been wanting. And Kasoli is a small town in Uttarakhand. It is located in the mountains. So this woman, she's been wanting a quiet house living in the mountains. So finally she's come to Kasoli, settled here, and she's fulfilled her dream of living in a quiet mountain. Okay, it was the place and the time of life that she had wanted and prepared for all her life, as she realized on the first day at Carignano, with a great, cool flowering of relief. And at last she had it. So she's dreamed of living in mountains for a very long time, of living in this peaceful region. And now, finally, now that she has moved in this region, she has realized her dream. And this whole cool flowering of relief. Basically, it means that she has just realized her dream and she's feeling relieved now that finally what she's wished for so long, she's finally got that, to live in this region. She wanted no one and nothing else. Whatever else came or happened here would be an unwelcome intrusion and distraction. So basically, she's been looking for peace and she's wanting to exist there undisturbed. She does not want any human interaction. So any sort of human interaction or anything of that sort happening in the surrounding felt like an intrusion, felt like a distraction, as if she really wants to be with nature and in the quiet of the mountains and do not want to be disturbed in any way. This she tried to convey to the plodding postman with a cold and piercing stare from the height of the ridge onto his honest bull back. So we see there was a question about postman. So at this point, you should again your antenna should get some signal that some answer is going to come. You're going to come across some answer because the question about postman has been there. Okay. So basically, we see that this woman is really long has been longing for peace for a long time. She's wanted to shift in the mountains because that is a peaceful area, and now that she's shifted there, she wants to be left completely alone in her peace with the nature. And even the postman that passes by feels like a distraction or a disturbance to her, and she does not like it. So she stares at the postman in a very cold manner, as if that just the passing of that postman is also a disturbance that she cannot take. Unfortunately, he did not look up at her on the hilltop, but stared stolidly down at the dust piling onto his shoes as he plodded on. So while she's staring, she's sitting. Her house is located at a higher position. So from that higher position, she's looking down and she's trying to stare at the postman. But the postman, busy in his own work, is did not look towards the women and is this moving. So this person is looking down towards its shoes or something like that. So did not notice the women staring at her, at him, at the postman. A bullockman and oh fish ox, she thought bitterly. So she feels so intruded by this person's presence that she calls him names in her mind. She calls him a bullockman and ox. So this is sort of trying to abuse in her mind bitterly. She stepped backwards into the garden, and the wind suddenly billowed up and threw the pine branches about as though to curtain her. So now she's moved her attention from the postman and she's focused on the nature. And now the blowing wind, as if trying to soothe her and is trying to hide her. So the wind is blowing and the pine trees. There's it's a type of tree that are found in the mountainous area. So the branches of pine trees almost try to curtain her. So it's almost like her desire to hide away from all the human things and be one with the nature is also being reciprocated by the nature also. So the moving branches of the pine tree are almost trying to act like a curtain and hide her in the lap of the nature rather than her being seen to the humans and being disturbed by them. She was grey, tall and thin, and her silk sari made a sweeping shivering sound, and she fancied she could merge with the pine tree and be mistaken for one. So we also came across this question about pine tree and what her idea of pine tree or merging with the pine tree means. So there's a question based on this line also. So at this point also you should become very cautious. Your answer is somewhere in these lines. So these lines say that so basically the woman that is being talked about is an older woman. So she was grey, tall and thin shows that she was older. She's an older woman, and her silk sari made a sweeping shivering. So when the wind is blowing, her sari ka pallu is sweeping, and its fluttering sound is being made because of the wind blowing against the sari pallu, the sari, and so this is making her feel good, and she feels so one with the nature that she feels like if only she could just become one with the pine tree, that the gray pine tree and their branches flowing, and she herself, a old woman with her sari flowing, she just merges with the nature and becomes one. So this is what she's imagining. To be a tree, no more and no less, was all she was prepared to undertake. So she just wants to be one with the nature and become one with it and not be disturbed by anything else in the society or anything else, any human intrusion. Okay. So this is the level of peace that she's looking for. What pleased and satisfied her so here at Carignano was its barrenness. This was the chief virtue of all Kasoli, of course, its darkness. It had rocks, it had pines, it had light, and it had air. So she is not looking for lush green kind of landscape. She's looking for uh, the barrenness. The barrenness means that there are not so many lush trees, the kind that you see in, say, Kerala around backwaters. These are very standalone trees. They don't have very wide branches, kind of thing. So that is the landscape of Kasol in general, and this is what she really prefers. She does not want very jungle, foresty kind of area. She likes that barrenness. She likes that the specific nature of landscape in Kasoli. So it has rocks, it has pines, light and air. So all those things are very appealing to her. In every direction, there was a sweeping view to the north of the mountains, to the south of the plains. So, in the north, if you look, there were mountains. In the south, if you look, there are plains. So, these are the appealing view in every direction that is being talked about. Occasionally, an eagle swam through this clear, unobstructed mass of light and air, and that was all. So there wasn't much disturbance. So there was one postman that just passed by, but besides that, there is not much disturbance. Maybe once in a while there is a eagle seen in this unobstructed sky. So unobstructed sky, there is no skyscraper, nothing else in the vision, just clear landscape and trees and unobstructed sky. So the skyline is clear, and once in a while the eagle appears. That's all. And Carignano, her home on the ridge, had no more than that. So her home at the ridge is at the mountain top, on the like at the edge, like near it. So there are not many houses or hotels or those kind of things around. So it's just one house at the mountain tops, and it looks like it's completely undisturbed in the isolation in a very peaceful setting. And Carignano, her home on the ridge, had no more than that. Why should it? The sun shone on its white walls, its windows were open, the ones facing north open to the blue waves of Himalayas, flowing out and up to the line of ice and snow sketched upon the sky, while those that faced south looked down the plunging cliff to the plain stretching out, flat and sheer to the blurred horizon. So basically, the landscape has been painted here. A picture has been painted here that the house is located at the mountain top, and on the north we see beautiful Himalayas. They are almost like they are described as blue waves of Himalayas because there are mountain ranges. So blue waves of Himalayas flowing out and up, and they are snow covered. The tip of the Himalayas are snow covered, and then on the southern from the southern side of the house we see plains. So it's not the plains, but like in a mountain areas, if you've ever been to the region, you'll see that one side is mountain and the other side is relatively plainer. So it's like it's elevated plain kind of thing rather than mountain. So this is the picture that we see from her house that is at the ridge, that is at the mountain top. Not exactly at the tip of the mountain like that, but on the like higher elevation on in a mountainous area. Okay. Yes, there were some apricot trees close to the house. There were clumps of iris that had finished blooming. There was the kitchen with the wing of smoke lifting out of its chimney and a stack of wood outside its door. But these were incidental, almost unimportant. So basically, there were some other things also, some things that gave an implication of civilization. That there were trees, apricot trees. There was smoke coming out of kitchen. There were some wood that was stacked outside the door. So there were other things also, but the only thing that has been focused in the paragraph is the divine nature, the peaceful, the solace that this unobstructed view is providing to that women. Okay. So basically, this comprehension is painting a beautiful picture of that of the experience or the view that this woman is having, or the experience that she is having, the feeling that she has towards the nature. So this is an extract from Fire on the Mountain by Anita Desai. Now let's look at the questions. What does the protagonist's preference for barrenness and starkness at the Carignano suggest about her personality? So, just even if you had not read the passage, if somebody who prefers barren, like not very lush green mountains, you can imagine what kind of person that person be. So, she enjoys bustling and vibrant environment. Of course not. Nobody who enjoys barrenness can enjoy bustling and vibrant environment. Option B, she values simplicity and minimalism in her surroundings. Okay, that sounds fair. She prefers lush and colorful landscapes. Again, no, she does not want a obstruction in her view. She wants just unobstructed view. So that doesn't feel like the right option. She seeks constant stimulation and variety in her life. She cannot even tolerate that one poor postman passing by, so she does not want constant stimulation. So the correct option is option B. She values simplicity and minimalism. She does not want much in her view. She prefers the barrenness and starkness. That means just simplicity is what she's looking for. Okay. So the passage says, what pleased and satisfied her so at Carignan Nano was its barrenness, its darkness. This highlights her appreciation for simplicity and absence of clutter and distractions. What do you get to know about the protagonist's state of mind from her reaction towards the postman? So we saw she was giving him cold stare and piercing look. So she feels grateful for his presence. The moment you read she feels grateful, you should reject this option. She of course does not feel. She's like she cannot feel irritated enough by the postman's presence. She dislikes any disturbance or interruption in her solitude. This looks like a good option. She feels suspicious and is interested in the lives of others. Of course not. She does not want any human interaction. So she's not at all interested in the lives of others. She is disinterested and generally unaffected by the presence of others. It could confuse you, but you have to remember that she was giving a cold and piercing stare. That's what we read. So it's not like she's unaffected. She is affected and she's irritated by postman's presence. She even bitterly abuses him a little in her mind, calls him an ox. So option B, she dislikes any disturbance or interruption in her solitude. What does the protagonist's desire to be mistaken for a pine tree reveal about her mindset? She desires to be appreciated and noticed by others in society? Of course not. She wanted to shift in this region because it's uh, isolated and she wants her peace. She has a deep admiration for the beauty of pine trees. Okay, this can be an answer. Let's look at the other option. She feels a sense of superiority over other living beings. There is no way we can we can prove this point. So there is no sense of superiority being mentioned in the passage. She yearns to be one with nature and escape from her human identity. So option D is the one, because we see there's a line about her becoming one with the pine tree. So the passage says she fancied she could merge with the pine trees and be mistaken for one. So she's yearning to be one with the nature, to be a tree, no more and no less, was all she was prepared to undertake. So, this shows a withdrawal from the human society and a desire to dissolve into nature. Okay, so option D is the correct option. So, this question was mentioned in the paper, but it was withdrawn. So, we'll skip this one. Now, the longish question. Usually, these are the easiest also. So, do not be scared by these longish questions. Which of the following statements are true about the protagonist's overall state of mind? In statement 1, she experienced a sense of constant restlessness and anguish. No, I mean, she was enjoying the nature, so that doesn't feel like the correct statement. She felt isolated and disconnected from her environment. Okay, she didn't really feel isolated. She wasn't feeling isolation or lonely. She was feeling peaceful. There's a difference. So when the word isolated is used, it feels negative connotation. It has the negative connotation. But she really wanted that peace and tranquility. So she was enjoying it. So statement 2 also is not correct. Statement 3, she was content, fulfilled, and at peace with her surroundings. So of course, the option D is the correct option. She was very happy that she didn't want any sort of interaction by anybody. She shifted in that place because she wanted the peace. So option D, that is only statement 3 is correct. In the light of above passage, what role does nature play in the protagonist's life at Carignano? A, it provides her with a source of creativity. No, she's not looking for any creativity. It's not like she's an artist shifted there for inspiration. So option A is not correct. It offers her solace, peace, and a sense of belonging. Okay, that sounds fair. It serves as a reminder of the harsh realities of life. Of course not. She's really happy about the whole nature, and there's no harsh realities of life that she's reminded of. It serves as a constant source of distraction and intrusion for her. Of course not. That's not what nature is doing. The postman was a source of distraction, but not the nature. So option B is the correct option. It offers her solace, peace, and a sense of belonging. So she fancied she could merge with the pine tree. What pleased and satisfied her was its barrenness, light, and air. So she's like the nature is comforting for her. Human presence is not, but nature is comforting and it's meaningful for her. So this was it. Now let's move on to the next reading comprehension. Again, we'll quickly go through the questions first. Who is often regarded as the greatest playwright in the history of English language? So wherever there is a mention of greatest playwright, that will be our answer. Which of the Jane Austen's novel is known for its social commentary and witty portrayal of romance? So the moment we come across the name Jane Austen and the names of her novels is mentioned, Our answer will be located in that part. Who are the romantic poets mentioned in the passage known for celebrating nature and intense human emotions? So the moment we come across romantic poets, so at this point, what all things you should remember? Say so. The first from the first question, who is the biggest playwright? We should know that. What is the name of Jane Austen's book? We should know that. So the moment we come across the term Jane Austen, then romantic poets. So this is how you should have to remember. You don't have to remember the whole question, just the main crux of the question. Two, three words, two, three words, two, three words. Because that's all you can put in your cache memory or the temporary memory for the time that you're reading the passage. What is the title of Virginia Woolf's novel known for its modernist narrative style? So Virginia Woolf's novel also you have to see what is the title of it. That is modernist narrative in style. Identify the 20th century novel mentioned in the passage that provides a warning about dangers of totalitarianism. So, the 20th century novel and totalitarianism. So, this is what you have to remember. What does the passage highlight as the enduring power of English literature? So, we have to look for the phrase enduring power of English literature. Maybe not the exact phrase because it is not written in quotes, but something about this we'll surely come across. Okay, so we can now read the passage. English literature is a vast and diverse field that has left an indelible mark on the world of literature. So, indelible mark means permanent mark, like it's very influential. So, English literature has like many, it has gone through various phases and it has left a permanent mark. It has been very influential in the world of writing because there are so many different English literature, Spanish literature, so many literature. So similarly, English literature has been very influential in the world of writing. From the eloquent plays of William Shakespeare to the complex novels of Jane Austen and the profound poetry of William Wordsworth, English literature offers a window into human experience. So these great playwrights and authors, they have uh, written so well that you that reading their texts and their literature gives you a very good glimpse of human experience. So they reflect the human experience very well. One of the luminaries of English literature is William Shakespeare, often hailed as the greatest playwright in the history of English language. And there is your first answer. Just you have to mark it, and if you remember the question, you will very easily be able to answer the first question right here in the very first few seconds of reading your comprehension. His works, including Hamlet, Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet, are celebrated for their exploration of human nature, love, ambition, and tragedy. So, like we said, that they give us a window in the human experience. So now we see that these all texts that Shakespeare wrote, they are so well written that they give a very good understanding of human nature, how love, ambition, and tragedy are shaped by the human nature. So, this is the greatness of Shakespeare. That is why he is hailed as the greatest playwright in the history of English language because his portrayal of human nature is very apt. His characters, such as tormented Hamlet and the star-crossed lover Romeo and Juliet, continue to captivate readers and audiences worldwide. So even though it was written long back, his characters are so real and relevant that across the various cultures, across the globe, people love to read his work, and there's some sort of relatability that they get in these characters. The 19th century ushered in a new era of literary giants. Now we are moving on. Now we are seeing an evolution. Like there was this Shakespeare's era. Now we've entered into 19th century, and now there are new literary giants. That is, more great authors are going to be talked about in further. Jane Austen's novels such as Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility. So there is a question about Jane Austen's novel. Your answer is going to be in this part. So pay attention. Jane Austen's novels such as Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility provide incisive social commentary through the lens of wit and romance. Here is your answer that these are the titles of the novels: Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility. Immediately look at the question and see which of the two is mentioned. That's your answer. Austen's heroines like Elizabeth Bennet, and do not forget to mark these points. So if there is any confusion, you do not have to look through the whole passage. You can immediately get to the point where you know the answer is somewhere in the line one or two above that phrase. Austen's heroines like Elizabeth Bennet and Eleanor Dashwood remain beloved literary figures known for their intelligence and resilience. Now, the characters in Jane Austen's books are being described that she painted women who were known for their intelligence and resilience. So, these are the name of the characters. Elizabeth is in the Pride and Prejudice, and Eleanor Dashwood is, I think, in the Sense and Sensibility. I've not read Sense and Sensibility, but Pride and Prejudice I've read, so I know about that. The Romantic era brought forth poets like William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. So now we are moving on to the Romantic era. So this whole passage is taking us through the evolution of English literature, and we also there is also a question about Romantic era poet. That which of the following is a Romantic era poet? So again, you have an answer in these lines. So the Romantic era poet. Uh, uh, Brought forth poets like such as William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Look at the question, and your answer will be either of these names. Who celebrated the beauty of nature and the emotional intensity of the individual. So, while the literary giants of the 19th century, such as Jane Austen, she's giving a social commentary. The Romantic era poets talked about nature. They celebrated nature and the individual intensity of of a person. Wordsworth's I wandered, lonely as a cloud, and Coleridge's The Rime of Ancient Mariner are testaments to the power of the written words to evoke profound emotions and imagery. So the two texts of these romantic poets have been mentioned, and how they are so well written that they show the power that written words can carry. How they are so well written that they are very powerful texts. They evoke profound emotions. They evoke a lot of emotions on the reader, and they paint a very vivid imagery. When you're reading it, it's almost like you're seeing things, it's almost like you're experiencing those things. So it is so well written. Moving towards the 20th century, English literature continued to evolve. So now we have entered in 20th century. So we entered 19th century, we saw two different categories of the authors, and now we are entering 20th century. Virginia Woolf's groundbreaking novel, Mrs. Dalloway, explored the inner thoughts and lives of its characters with modernist narrative style. So, again, you should recall Virginia Woolf, modern narrative style, there's a question. So, the answer should be in this line. Read the question and you see the Mrs. Dalloway is the name that has been asked in the question and mentioned in the, in the options. This is your answer. Dystopian visions, as seen in George Orwell's 1984, proved provided stark warnings about the dangers of totalitarianism. Again, the question is about dangers of totalitarianism. The moment you come across this phrase, you should see that, okay, there was a question on this. Look at the question, and here is your answer. George Orwell's 1984. The question asks you about the name of the text that talks about the dangers of totalitarianism. So here is your answer. And the erosion of individual freedom. So basically, the Virginia Woolf's novel, Mrs. Dalloway, it talks about there's a literary tool called stream of consciousness that is being used. So whatever is going through the mind of the main character is being very well portrayed by Virginia Woolf in this novel. And then the novel by George Orwell, 1984. Again, it's presenting a world where there is individual freedom does not exist at all, and how a totalitarian world will be. It's painting a very vivid picture of that, so that people can be warned about the the dangers of a totalitarian system that can have on the society. So it's painting a very vivid picture, so you can almost experience it by reading it. Today, English literature is a global phenomena, transcending borders and languages. Indian authors like Arundhati Roy, with her novel The God of Small Things, have won prestigious international literary awards. So now we've further moved to the present era, where we are talking about Arundhati Roy's novel The God of Small Things, which has won many awards. The book not only explores intricate family dynamics but also delves into broader socio-political landscape of India. In summary, English literature is a testament to the enduring power of storytelling and the written word. It encompasses an array of authors, themes, styles that continue to captivate and inspire readers across the world. So this is in the last line, the author itself has summarized the thing. So if the question were on the central thesis, this is where your answer would be. And a question is also there on the enduring power of English literature. So this is where your answer is. So underline this, get to the question, see what exactly is being asked, and here your answer is. Okay. So this is how you have to do your reading comprehension. Let's quickly go through the questions now. Who is often regarded as the greatest playwright in the history of English language? We have read this line. So option C, William Shakespeare, because the passage says William Shakespeare, often hailed as the greatest playwright in the history of English language. So option C. Which of the Jane Austen's novels is known for its social commentary and witty portrayal? So there are two novels mentioned here that are written by Jane Austen. That is Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility. So the Pride and Prejudice is not here. So option B, Sense and Sensibility, is your Answer. Who are the romantic poets mentioned in the passage known for celebrating nature and intense human emotions? William Shakespeare and Virginia Woolf? No, Virginia Woolf is modernist. George Orwell and Samuel Taylor Coleridge? Again, Orwell is also 20th century, so he's not the romantic. William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge? Option C is the correct option. Okay. So they are. So we have this line in the passage. The Romantic era brought forth poets like William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge, who celebrated the beauty of nature and emotional intensity of the individual. So option C. What is the title of Virginia Woolf's novel known for its modernist narrative style? So Pride and Prejudice was Jane Austen's novel. 1984 is George Orwell's novel. God of Small Things is contemporary Arundhati Roy's novel. So option C, Mrs. Dalloway. Okay. So Virginia Woolf's groundbreaking novel, Mrs. Dalloway, explored the inner thoughts and lives of its characters with a modernist narrative style. So, option C is your answer. Question 23. Identify the 20th century novel mentioned in the passage that provides a warning about the dangers of totalitarianism. So, again, we've read this one. So, the answer is 1984 because the passage says dystopian visions as seen in George Orwell's 1984 provided stark warnings about the dangers of totalitarianism. So your option A is the answer. Question 24. What does the passage highlight as the enduring power of English literature? A. Its ability to win literary awards. Of course not. B. The diversity of its authors, themes, and styles. C. Its ability to captivate and inspire only British readers, like nowhere British readers have been mentioned. D. Decline of storytelling. Why would that be the enduring power? Enduring power, something that has that has existed for long, that has endured. That is, it's very resilient. It has existed for so long. That is enduring power of English literature from the time of Shakespeare to the present era of Arundhati Roy. So the answer would be the diversity of its authors, theme, and styles. Option B. So the passage says it, that is the English literature, encompasses an array of authors, themes, and styles that continue to captivate and inspire readers across the world. So not just the British readers. So option B is your answer. So I hope you've understood how you have to first look at the questions, find what you have to look in the reading comprehension, and then with that information in your memory. I say temporary memory because once you have attempted those questions, just delete it because you have to read another passage and then keep that information in your temporary memory. So that is why you don't have to like mug up. You just have to keep it on the like front of your what you say memory, so temporary memory, as we have cache memory. So you have to find the points where you will be able to find the answers in the reading comprehension, and the one reading itself you will be able to find them with accuracy. It will help you with speed as well as accuracy. Okay, I hope I've made things relatively easier for you. Thank you so much for your patience. I'll see you again with another question paper. Bye bye.